Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of The Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, also simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I am Mr. Bennett with my partner, as always.
This is Sparta!
The Ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. Panagiotis. Yasu, my brother, what is going on?
What is going on, my man? How are you tonight?
I am well. Certainly, I was out of action last week, missed everything, but certainly had a good reason, a good excuse for it, Sparta. Certainly being in the island of Grenada. I'm actually rocking the shirt for Grenada
nice.
here tonight. And, certainly my daughter, who is matriculating her studies in medical school down there. So, had an opportunity to spend a few extra days down there with the wife. That was sort of our getaway, but also making sure my daughter was whole. And it was good timing that we went down there because she had to move in and out of her dorm a couple times. First, her dorm got some mold in it that she had to move out of there into another dorm. But then that situation wasn't quite right. So they were going to move it back to the existing building, but on the third floor. And they don't have elevators down there. So, so certainly, but it was timely for us to be there. We gave her a little bit of home. She misses our dog tremendously. And so we gave her a shirt, Doctor Strange shirt with pictures of her deal on it, and then we gave her a blanket as well. So she says every day she comes back from school, she wraps herself in the blanket and whatnot. So she loves the gift, and so she's in a good place. She's passing her exam so far, which is good, and she loves lab. So this is where you know that she's in a good place because she's like, oh, I just love lab. So she's talking about she likes, and they deal with human cadavers. So she's seen human heads, human shoulders, elbows, buttocks. She's seen all of these body parts, and she loves the she thinks it's the coolest part of medical school is the body. So it's like, yeah, you got to be of a certain mindset to be able to be around that stuff and not pass out or puke or whatever. So
it's funny story that you said this. I don't know if I mentioned it over to you guys. My mother went to nursing school. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Back in Greece, I'm not sure if it should do with it. This is back in the day. I wasn't even sperm yet at this point. She's going through her, her exams and everything. Now they got to the point they need to start practicing on bodies, not live bodies. Obviously, it was dead bodies. They practice first on dead bodies, then go to live. So she goes, "Fuck this!" She gets the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
She couldn't do it.
Well, even more so, my youngest daughter, she was actually thinking about transferring schools. There's a vocational school in our area that she was thinking about transferring over to. So we went. They had an open house there, so we went over there, and I was a little skeptical of her going to a vocational school. But the weird thing was, as I went through and saw the school, the more I liked the school. So I was almost like, at the end of the day, I was like, look, if you want to go here, you can go. But they had a department upstairs where they actually train people for students for for medical, working in hospitals, ERs, driving in the hospital vans and whatnot. So they had a room, and the room was full of these fake bodies. It's patients, old patients and whatnot, people, but it was just bodies in there, models, and that freaked her out. So she was like, I'm not going to the school for that very reason. She got freaked out by being in the room, and that's what fake bodies. So I can't imagine how she would do with live bodies. But yeah, my oldest, she's like, yeah, she loves going to lab and dealing with. So she's fascinated by the human anatomy, and so I was like, yeah, I think you're cut out to be a doctor because, like I said, I know if it was me or your mother, and it's where her mom watches all of these CSI shows. So there's always these forensic things that they're always doing. Doesn't gross her out at all, but she would freak out if she ever saw a live body part pretty much anywhere.
This reminds me, I want to bring something to your attention, actually, that came into my radar this morning. You're you're big into working out and supplements, all that stuff. But you came to my attention was pre-workout. It was this YouTube influencer who was going over the weakest pre-workout to the strongest, and he found out one form is going to blow your mind out. It was a vape form of pre-workout.
Interesting.
And he even say, I don't smoke, I don't vape, I don't know. It was literally killing his lung. If you don't do any of that stuff, I don't recommend anybody. If you're trying to quit smoking, vaping is one step to get to that easier.
Right.
But I don't know, dude. That's vaping, and it says on the prescription, take 3 inhales, and then wait 30 minutes. He felt it, but the crash was even worse than anything else. He said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up about the vape. Like, I'm wondering then, could what other substances, like just medicines and medications in general, if you got a headache, could they give you? Can you vape a Tylenol or an ibuprofen or something like that? I'm just curious.
If you really want to get technical, medication's been in vape form for a while. Inhalers is a vape form. It's a
Correct.
vape form.
Yeah, so, no, certainly. Yeah, my daughter's had asthma, so definitely very familiar with that.
A breathing treatment, that's a vape form.
Correct.
So you can turn anything to a vape form. Really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Marijuana right now. It was the flowers they call them nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now is into a vape form. Depends how many grams you want to get, or
right.
All that shit.
Like, I'm just wondering if the folks who are into the cannabis or whatever, is it the same feeling? Because my thing is, I think the harmful part of it, from what I understand, again, I'm not an expert on this, but from what I understand, the hard part is, again, the carcinogenic effects of smoking, period. And so if vaping can kind of get you away from the carcinogenic effects of it, could it be a healthy delivery system for, like you said, not just for, just your traditional vapes, but all kinds of medications and whatnot to make it a little bit easier for people to stomach. But yes, we've had sort of those vapor machines throughout my child's lifetime. Like, so, a couple of them, they've had, breathing treatments and whatnot that they've had over time. So certainly I wonder if that's something that could, especially if they're traveling or whatnot, they don't have to carry like the big machine with them anytime if they have feel their chest tightening or getting asthma or whatever. So that'd be interesting to see if they can perfect that certainly in the future. But certainly for those who are coming in tonight, just make sure you hit the like button as you come in. Certainly appreciate that. It helps the algorithm. Also, anything that you want to give to the Black Men Unfiltered Network, certainly you see the super chat, the Cash App down there. Also consider a super chat to give to us. And as well, if anything you want to give to us personally, our Cash Apps will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And so tonight's show, and again, I know we did a little bit of shuffling, certainly before the show started tonight, but I was thinking about this for a while. It was something that I thought about some years ago during the pandemic. And I'll just only mention it as a pandemic, but everybody should know what I'm referring to. But there were some interesting pictures that I saw during that time that really got me thinking about this topic. So we're talking about energy tonight, and in particular, from a global perspective, countries that use different energy sources or whatnot, and the future of it. Because obviously we have a growing population. We're almost up to near 9 billion people in the world, and so population growth is still going to be an issue, and with that is going to become an increasing demand for energy. And so there's always the debate, there's big political debates and whatnot over fossil fuels versus renewables versus nuclear power and whatnot. So I just wanted to kind of have this conversation just to get some perspective on certainly how you felt, Pete, about if you've given some thought to energy production and where you see the future is. But one thing I wanted to kind of start the show out with was during the pandemic, there were some images that were shown. So this one here is from Kathmandu in Nepal. And obviously, Kathmandu, some of the countries I'm showing here, they use coal as their primary sources of energy production, coal plants and whatnot. So these pictures were shown back in 2020, March 29th. That's actually my anniversary date. Showing clear skies. So when everything was shut down for a while, you had places that where energy was being produced, and if just shutting down the plants for a while, just given the situation, you had clear skies. Here's another one. This is from New Delhi. Again, India is a cold using country, and just a comparison between when you had when they're currently producing coal at the top, and then when everything shut down for a while, how the skies were blue after that. Another one here. This is from downtown LA. Everyone talks about the smog in Los Angeles, and just shutting things down for a while as people were trying to grasp with how to deal with the pandemic. You saw clear skies in LA. And then the last one I'll show here. This is from again Jakarta. Again, you see the air quality certainly, during normal hours, but during the pandemic when things were shut down, you see, how the difference in the skyline, when things were, when things were shut down for a while. So it got me thinking about that because I know my kids, again, a couple of them, they've always dealt with air and breathing problems, asthma and whatnot. We always talk about the risks, of using certain sources, whether it be oil, coal plants and whatnot. And, and now there's the debate over, renewables. Should we go all in on wind, solar, and what about nuclear? Now, I remember growing up, nuclear was like a major topic. One, because of the threat of a nuclear war between the former Soviet Union and the United States. So that was definitely part of the conversation. But there were also some incidents that happened in that time. One of the ones that is famous, certainly in the United States anyway, was 3 Mile Island. Which is relatively close to in the country on the East Coast, and there was a meltdown there, and so that freaked a lot of people out because everybody was thinking nuclear energy is going to be the energy source of the future, and that incident happened, and that shied people away. And then probably the biggest one that's certainly from the 20th century that we know of is Chernobyl in Russia, and certainly that did a lot of damage to a lot of people. A lot of people got sick from that meltdown. And then you had one in Japan not too long ago. But if you look at the statistics overall, it's a relatively one of the safest forms of energy, and it is also one of the cleanest when it comes to that. But then you got the problem of how do you deal with nuclear waste and those sort of things. So these are things that have been talked about when it comes to where do we go from here? Like, how are we going to be still on for and all that? It also has geopolitical implications because, again, if we getting, something breaks out in the Middle East, and then what happens to oil prices? Like anything that happens, if they sneeze over there and gas prices go up because, oil is a speculative market, so they can change the price of oil for any reason. And, certainly in the United States, we're not an energy independent nation. We don't produce all of our own sources. We need to get sources from other countries. So it's like, well, where do we go? Do we start, going all in? Do we need to build more nuclear power plants or go in on the wind and solar and whatnot? So I want to get your view. How do you think about this? And I got several slides put together. I probably won't show all of them, but I just wanted to kind of start off with that, and that the reason why I wanted to kind of chop this up, and then we can look at just different parts of the world that use energy differently, and seeing what is the possibility of it being used here. So what are your just initial thoughts on energy and energy uses, and what do you think the future is?
I think the future is non-gasoline in any shape, way, or form. I think we need to find a different form. Like a lot of houses, at least in PA, I'm not sure about Jersey yet, but if you have the solar panels, there are a lot of companies that will install it for almost nothing for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's some deal. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. That's because I have solar panels. So here's the thing. Whether or not they install them free or not, it's all about the credits that you get off the panel. So basically, at least the way it works in New Jersey is for every 1,000 kilowatts of energy that solar panels produce, you get an energy credit for them. Mm-hmm. And that can be depending on the size of your unit. It could be about $2.50, per 1,000 kilowatts that you get. And so a lot of times what the companies will do is the ones that will install it for free, basically you're basically leasing them. They get, for the materials that they did to build it, they are going to continue to collect on those solar credits or those SREC credits for the life of the units. If you buy it, then you get those credits that come to you. So a lot of it is going to depend on, obviously what your financial situation are. Are you in a position to buy them? And secondly, are you, do you want that? Do you want that risk associated with it as far as, the other company getting the credits for them? So that's really what it boils down to when it comes to the credits. But the one thing you also got to make sure is that you make sure that you build or you have your unit built large enough to support your current energy usage. Because currently, what they do is they'll take a look at your last 12 months of energy usage, and they'll do like an average. So your unit, so basically, you use on average a certain amount of kilowatt hours per month, and then they'll build a unit that is supposed to meet that criteria. But if things go up, let's just say if we have a heat wave in the summer, or you find yourself where you're using more energy sources, where you're basically going to be buying more energy out of the grid. Not only are you paying for the solar panels that you already have, but you still have to buy energy from the energy company, and you're going to be charged that as well. So you got to make sure that your unit is big enough to support your energy usage. And the thing that also you got to keep in mind, energy costs are going up. Like in New Jersey, it's a big. I know we're in a major political year, gubernatorial race this year coming up next month. And one of the big things issues in New Jersey is like the cost of energy has skyrocketed in recent months, and people are like, so everyone's campaigning like, how are we going to get these energy prices down? Because it's becoming unaffordable. People had like $300, $400, $500 a month energy bills, regardless of the time of year, and so so it's become a political issue. But again, the long term, how are we going to get out of this situation? How can you make energy affordable? You still want it safe, and so again, there's a lot of ramifications for this topic that are affecting certainly people in New Jersey directly. But then, like you said, Pete, I mean, how long can we be on fossil fuels? And what's really going on politically in terms of why is it that, companies are still so invested in? I mean, obviously, anytime there's innovation, people lose, right? So again, if the oil companies, if we really went in on another energy source, oil and gas companies, they're the ones who are going to lose out unless they switch over and start getting into new areas of energy that they haven't before. But if they got too much invested in it, then if it's a money thing, then that's where they're always going to go. So that's kind of how I'm kind of seeing it.
You're right about one thing. It's like that whole solar panel is very confusing to me, to be honest with you. So you might have to break it down in a little more detail, buying credits, not credits. That's a whole different story. But any new evolution in technology, somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get butt hurt, unfortunately. Tesla's a great example. Electric cars been out for years, but he was able to revolutionize that and make it public available to the public. And then all these other companies, Tesla doesn't have the best electric car. He has the most popular one. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, he had an advantage for a while, but everyone caught up, and that's the thing. Like, who is going to, if anything, who is going to break? Because prior to Tesla coming out, a lot of the EV vehicles at the time really weren't that good. They were small. They didn't look very inviting. And especially in America, a lot of the time, and mind you, at the time Tesla came out, we were coming out of the big car era, right? People were driving Escalades, and they were driving Hummers. Remember the Hummer H2, the H3, and whatnot. So big, going big was everything, and you clearly weren't going to get that with an electric car. Shout out to Cash Rain Mindset, who was in the building tonight earlier. Shout out to Braxton, Snake Fiend. Appreciate you being here, sir. So again, in America, we were used to having these big cars. So when these early electrics came out, people was like, I don't want to drive that. First, you can barely I'm 6'3", so you can barely fit me in one of those things. And now but when Tesla did come out, you did have, in fact, I've tested, we were, this close to buying one a couple years ago. But, some things change and whatnot, and, we against it, but we're still contemplating that. Do we want to go all in full electric, or do we want to get like a hybrid type of vehicle that kind of works off of both? So we're still kind of wrestling with that situation. But yeah, but the competition's caught up.
That's a very catch-22, because I know people, King Smith, he has a hybrid. He loves his hybrid. But the downfall of it, he goes to me, he got a small hybrid. small SUV, and it's has no room for do a lot of things. Sometimes he has
Exactly. Yeah. And Marianne is right. Yeah. Toyota came out with, I think Toyota came out with one. I think Nissan, it had, I think a Nissan Leaf came out. Like I said, there were cars that came out before the Tesla, but as Pete said earlier,
right. Toyota
it's when they,
the first hybrid. My dad was debating getting one himself at a time. Because, he was a cab driver in New York City, and they were really, they weren't made mandatory, but the TOC was kind of pushing it, like, we recommend it, but you don't have to, but we do recommend it.
Right.
He's got it, and the batteries were just going one after the other. That was the issue. The batteries wouldn't hold it, and replace those batteries are not cheap. They're expensive as fuck. I'm sorry, I cut you off before. You were going to say something?
No. It was like she's right about it first coming out, but again, to your earlier point, Tesla made electric cars cool. Tesla made electric cars desirable. They had some luxury ones. I love the one where it had the doors. It was almost like the remember the DeLorean back in the day that had the doors that flip up on both sides.
Yeah, they got rid of that for some reason. That's how it was.
Yeah, but that was cool at the time because I saw a couple folks who had some money that were buying them. So it was like Tesla was actually looked at for a small period of time, as almost like a luxury car. I mean, it was like, it was a status of people who had money. And I saw a lot of doctors certainly driving those cars. So I certainly think that they definitely took it another level. But now, again, these other automakers have certainly caught up in terms of build quality and features and whatnot that, certainly rival. And it doesn't, and it certainly is showing up in the sales, because I think the average cost for Tesla has dropped by like 20%. In the last couple of years.
They're dropping a lot.
Because of competition. And another thing with Teslas is they're unlike other car companies, they don't come out with a new model every year. It's like the Tesla body, whether the S, the X, or the Y, or whatever, it's like it's the same body type every year. The only upgrade that you get every year was the software in the car. So again, I think after a time, the model started to look old to people, and then obviously they had the Tesla truck that came out, which, depending on who you believe, is like it's terrible. The design of it looks like something out of a I heard it compared to like a trash can one time.
Actually, the original design came from Cyberpunk 20 something is like that. The game, it's from a video game. It literally looks just like the video game Cyberpunk. That's what and they call this the Cybertruck. That's exact same thing. Nothing had changed from the game. And some people say it's ugly, some people like it. I see a lot of them on the road. I see a lot of those over here.
And like I said, I think it's definitely it's a status symbol. Whether you like it or not, it's gaudy. It's just like like I said, when the Hummer got on the road, right? The H2 and the H3, when those guys are on the road, again, they're big. You can't park it in a regular parking space. You need 2 parking spaces in order to park it. So, but again, I think for a lot of people, having a big, bold vehicle, like I said, back in the day, the Escalade from Cadillac, that was just something that was associated with opulence or wealth or status or whatever. It was like bling on the road. You got the spinners. Remember the spinners they used to put on the wheels back in the day?
I hated those fucking things back then.
So all those style patterns from back in the day they were trying to get, but like like we're saying, I mean, a lot of companies have at least a version of an EV. Where it's going to go, I think a lot of that's going to depend on the price, the size and price of batteries. Because again, to get the battery, and that's a whole nother discussion in terms of where you get the resources to build these batteries. You got people in Africa digging up all this cobalt and all this stuff to make these batteries with. And if we want to understand the conditions that these people are under are not the greatest. So where are you going to get, you got to get into the earth to find these materials. To build these car batteries, and how much range you're going to have. There's still the idea. Yes, they're building more EV charging stations. Do people want to wait an hour to charge their vehicle? When you can just go into a gas station and fill up. So yeah, it is definitely they've certainly changed the conversation in terms of where the country's going. In New Jersey, in particular, I know they were giving rebates, $7,500 rebates. if you went and bought a Tesla under a certain price, like under 55,000, you could have bought a Tesla, got a rebate, and they were giving federal rebates on that.
So my apartment complex does not have a Tesla charging station, unfortunately. But I know a few people in my community are buying them now, so that might change. But my job has shitload of Tesla chargers units everywhere. Like, you cannot go 5 feet out seeing one. That's how they're all over the goddamn place. One of my neighbors, he loves it. But I've been talking to a lot of people who have them. Once they get in a very high miles, I mean very high miles, they start acting up. They were never made to last a long time. So once you get high miles, Tesla, like every car maker, once you get a certain mile, they want you to trade in and buy another one. So they have these, trading programs also. That makes me nervous when you know that a car's not going to survive after so many miles, and you have to trade in. And a lot of them don't want to buy it. Like, CQ is a great example. He was thinking about buying one, but he didn't see the wow factor.
Yeah.
Which one he found the wow factor was Mercedes-Benz at the time. This is what I'm talking about, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
That Mercedes-Benz was as close as his mortgage payment.
But,
But it would make, not because it was a Mercedes-Benz, because of how many miles to a charge was taking it. He could literally drive from Maryland to New York and back and still have a half a charge, meaning he can go take one more trip back to New York and back. Like, half a take, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. But have you ever seen these cars go next to you? Have you heard them like leave next to you when you're outside a car or something?
What, the Teslas?
Yeah, it sounds like a little power wheel.
Yeah, it's a difference. If you one of those classic car drivers and you want that muffler sound or whatnot, you're not going to get that. It's definitely it's a very different experience. And even when I test drove one, I mean the thing that was interesting was like the acceleration and braking. Now again, if you want to go from 0 to 60 in 3 point whatever, yeah, it'll do that. You know what I mean? But then braking, it's like basically as soon as you take your foot off the brake, it's like it just kind of comes to a halt. So basically you really have to learn how to drive another type of vehicle.
Here's a problem they didn't realize when they were making these cars: weather. So when it's snowing, right, you have the heat from the engine melting the snow away, right? What about the Tesla? They have no engine. What happens on the snow? It builds up.
Yeah.
And that's one major problem they're having with them. Like, a lot of people, I've been talking to a lot of people about it. Like one problem I hate driving my car in the snow. Like, why? You have heat coming out of your fucking car. I don't.
Yeah.
It really just melts. It won't melt off. It will just build up. You got to pull it up.
Correct. Yeah, because it doesn't give off any signature. But again, we talk about environment, right? So it doesn't have it doesn't give off any CO2 emissions and whatnot. So again, that's the
heating coils or something on there to prevent that problem. And it's a very easy fix like that.
Yeah.
Same?
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out to Lost in Translation, the building as well. Planned obsolescence, battery degradation is a huge factor over time. They're supposed to be for commuter cars to the store to work and back. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but taking one on the road, cross country or whatever, or down I-95, yeah, that could certainly be an issue. But again, is that the next frontier? Is the fact that Tesla existed? Is that going to then open up the gateway for, again, either another energy source, or will they fix the problem? Because, again, anything that you come out with in for the first time or whatever, obviously is it simply just an obstacle that needs to be overcome. And when it comes to energy in general globally, is all will we ever come up with that sort of magic bullet, that magic solution where you can do everything, you can lower emissions? Again, go back to those pictures that I showed early in the show about, can we have clear skies without smog and smog, smoke from the coal and oil producing plants. I mean, you go up Jersey, one thing you'll know you're in New Jersey going up and down I-95 or whatnot, because you'll pass Linden and you'll pass the all the power plants there. So you'll get all the gas and the smoke and everything just going through those on my way to work every morning. Will we ever figure it out? A solution that's sustainable and safe and all those, bells and whistles, or are we? Is it gonna always be a series of trade-offs that we have to deal with, and will we always be in a position where it's just going to be a mix of these different sources? But let me just
in our lifetime, no, I don't think this is going to happen. To be honest with you, in our lifetime, because I wish we live in a world like Star Trek and Star Wars. Energy is not an issue.
Yeah,
they have that little whatever, gamma rays and whatever that bullshit is. I don't remember what it's called. What's ever when I need them? But all that, those are stuff that I don't think they're gonna happen anytime soon. To be honest with you, it's something that's gonna happen down the road. Yes, not anytime soon.
Yeah,
that is a question, a scary question, because are we going backwards or forward?
Yeah, well, I think it gets even more confusing when, again, there's interest. Like I said, if we did get that magic bullet, right, or that energy source it can be used, that gives you an infinite amount of energy, again, there's going to be billions, if not trillions of dollars lost in industry. And so, who's gonna be able to break from that? That is really going to be the key. And I think as much as, capitalism and whatnot has been responsible for a lot of progress, at the same time, though, it has also stifled progress. Because again, once you have interests that have a stake in something, they want to kind of keep things as they are. And, but let's just take a look at this globally. I just want to kind of share, and I got a few slides I just want to kind of quickly go through. I don't want to spend too much time, but just to kind of give us the map globally of energy sources. And this came out this year, June of 2025. This just kind of gives you a breakdown globally of the places in the world and how they're getting their energy. So it's interesting that, certainly the places in red, again, China, India, Australia, South Africa, again, most of their energy comes from coal plants, right? And again, there's a trade-off there, because again, you talk about emissions, you talk about air quality, you're talking about health outcomes and whatnot. Then you have your gas producing countries. Russia obviously is a huge producer of gas, just as the United States is. But then you have countries that are going to more hydroelectric. Canada, a lot of Brazil. What's happening also in Europe with the Scandinavian countries, in France. Then a lot of their power comes from nuclear sources, and they do it safely. Again, you had the incidences, you had Chernobyl, you had 3 Mile Island, you had these things back in the day, but overall, it's just like plane crashes, right? I mean, yes, every time you hear about a plane crash, it's tragic, but just as Superman said, it's still the safest form of transportation. So it's like, do you let fear stop you from going in directions that are generally going to be safe for everybody? But yeah, like anything else, nothing's perfect. But again, what trade-offs are you going to have? So again, the major, especially if you look at the major superpowers, certainly coal, gas, and hydroelectric seem to be surely the big three when it comes to energy sources. Just looking at just the diversity of energy sources, this is the question I was asking earlier, Pete, in terms of, what we get off this. So again, prior to, the dawn of the mid 1850s, traditional biomass is basically like burning trees. You know what I mean? Like, those type of materials. Coal, obviously became big. Then you had oil, natural gas. And in the smaller areas, you got nuclear, which is still a small sliver of it, hydroelectric, wind, solar, and whatnot, and other renewables. But you see just how we get our energy has changed over the centuries, over time. But then we also have, and this is a breakdown of the this here. Actually, what it does is it gives you on the website, if you slide the bar up and down, it'll give you an idea of what was used. So in 1800, obviously all we had was traditional biomass, like I said, burning trees and other things for to light fires and whatnot for energy. If you go to the far end, here we have so many different levels of energy. And what's also unique is, again, those traditional biomasses has basically remained stable over the centuries. But you have all these other forms of energy that have been used since then, as of 2024. And also, like I said, keep in mind you have a growing population. So again, the energy consumption is going to continue to go up over time as the population increases. And again, as nations develop, you're going to have other sources of energy available. Because again, how much oil is out there? Do we have an infinite supply of oil and coal? And are those the best sources? Just given some, we've also heard about, again, tankers going down and oil spills and what that does to in environments over time. So these are things that you have to consider. Just want to go through a few slides here in terms of where people get their fuel breakdown. So you see here with Canada, they get a pretty decent amount of their energy from renewable, certainly a lot more than what we get from the United States. If you go all the way down to India, for example, they're still, for the most part, using fossil fuels for the most part. And if you look at the world one, the fourth one up, we still get our most energy in the world comes from these fossil fuels. And the question people are asking is, how long can we, continue this with a growing population? And another interesting one here is France. Now, again, France went nuclear a long time ago. They get a lot of their energy from nuclear power. They've been able to do it safely with not too many incidences. And so the question, is that a way to go? But again, there's always a trade-off, especially when something goes wrong. Here, 2024, again, where we're getting in the United States, again, we're getting it from a mix of different areas, wind and solar. Obviously, we don't get, and again, a lot of this stuff is political because, again, it depends on what administration, I'll just say that, what they want to focus on. So apparently the current administration isn't necessarily so gung-ho on a lot of these renewable sources as other administrations are. But then you always got to ask the question, okay, why is it that you favor one over the other? Is it that these are not worth investing in? Or do those that, the oil companies or whatnot, do they have a vested interest and they want to kind of keep things status quo the way they are? These are questions that I think everyone really has to have to start asking. As far as energy consumption by source, again, biomass fuels have been going down. Coal has been also going down as well. And you have more sources coming in from these renewables. But again, is it coming in mass to actually do a serious replacement of a lot of these traditional energy sources? Got another one here. Let's see here. All right, so again, I'm just going to quickly go through these. So it's just to show you primary energy sources 2024. So we all know about fossil fuels. They're still number one in the world, relatively speaking, with some few exceptions, like I said, in Europe, as far as places where people are getting their energy from. Coal, again, China, India, those are the biggest producers of users of coal as their primary energy source. Oil, again, U.S., Russia, also big sources of energy from there. From gas, again, U.S., Russia, again, this is the big competition right now. And again, especially in the geopolitical space, where a lot of people get nervous. Because if something goes down with Russia or the United States, then again, that can have also in the Middle East, they're going to have global ramifications all the way down to the pocketbook in terms of what you and I spend for gas. If you still use gas, unless you switch over to electric or something, what impact is that going to have given the geopolitical climate that we're currently in? Nuclear, as I said earlier, a lot of nations in Europe get a lot of their France gets the primary source of their energy from nuclear power. And, so for some of these countries, they've gone all in. Again, countries. Now, it's interesting enough, even though France gets most of their power from energy, the U.S. has more nuclear reactors than anyone else in the world. But again, the country is so big. And again, our demand for energy is so high that even with the number of reactors that we have, it's still not taking up a major amount of our energy needs. Whereas in France, even though it's a much smaller country, it still takes up a greater percentage of their energy usage. Countries most reliant on nuclear power, again, France, 69% of their energy generation is from nuclear power plants. Compared to Germany, only 11% of that, and U.S. and Canada is not even on the map regarding that. Countries committed to nuclear power, again, United States doesn't seem to be fully in, whereas China, even though they're one of the largest coal mining and producing countries in the world, they're planning to get in on the nuclear power, looking to by 2030 build 24 nuclear power plants within within that period. So I'm assuming that a lot of these must still be underway at the time. And Pete, just stop. You can stop me anytime you want. Just if
let's go through these so we can swing back.
Okay. Here, what is going on in the United States? So the last nuclear power plant that was built in the United States actually came online in 2023. So this plant here is in Georgia, Waynesboro, Georgia, and it's the first nuclear power plant to be created in the United States in the last 30 years, and it is the largest generator of clean energy in the country. So this is in Georgia. 1,700 people operate the facility. All right, so this is our latest share of primary renewable sources. Again, certainly Brazil, they're going all in on a lot of renewable sources. Also, again, United States not as much, and we don't have a lot of stats in Africa in terms of the central part of the continent in terms of what's going on there. A hydroelectric power, again, Canada, Brazil. So, Brazil seems to be, really moving in that direction, hydroelectric and renewable energy. Canada is also big on hydroelectric power. But again, Canada has like 30 million people, not 300 million. So again, it's
big difference.
In a smaller sample size. Yeah, you can kind of get away with that. But how do you provide energy to like 300? Now we're almost close to 350 million people. How are you able to get that much energy to that many people? Solar, again, Brazil, again, pretty heavy on solar energy as well. Not so much in the United States. Wind, again, same thing. And just want to kind of bring it local. Now, one thing, I don't know if you knew, I didn't know about this until I heard it in a political campaign not too long ago. I didn't know that as much as I talk about driving up I-95 up into Newark and passing all of the gas and plants, New Jersey has one of the highest nuclear generating states in the country. 44% of our energy comes from nuclear power plants in New Jersey, and I never knew that. I thought gas was like, and clearly it's a big factor. 50% of our usage comes there, but 44% happens in Jersey. In your state, Pete, 33% of your energy comes from nuclear power plants, and so these were kind of eyebrow raising, especially given what I grew up with, that nuclear power is so dangerous and whatnot. But they've been doing it in Jersey for a while, and nobody sort of batted an eye, and no one talks about the dangers of nuclear energy in the state of New Jersey or PA for that matter. Places, where they get the most of their power from it, again, New Hampshire, 59%, Illinois, 58%, South Carolina, 56% of their energy comes from nuclear power. So, do we have to then have a conversation about if these are getting it, it's low emissions, that should we go more so in on converting to nuclear energies, because we've already been doing it. In some cases, more than half, nearly or almost half of your energy is coming from nuclear power sources. So do we need to take the stigma off of nuclear energy, despite the fact that you had some very tragic and certainly newsworthy events that happened? Chernobyl, certainly probably the most devastating that happened. But then once you open it up, you realize that how they were doing it, it was poorly designed. and all the lessons learned from an incident like Chernobyl, should we, start to put some emphasis on more on nuclear power as a way of producing energy in the future, that we can manage better. Here, okay, so I want to give some information on Greece, since obviously, I always want to include Greece in the conversation. Interesting thing about Greece is that they don't get a lot. They don't produce a lot of their own energy. Most of their energy comes from other sources. So if you look at this breakdown from 2022 and 2023, Greece's primary energy import dependency index reached 79.6% compared to 62.5% in the EU. So Greece is a very energy dependent country. You don't produce your own energy for the most part, and you're relying on imports. Now, I would also think that as a nation, that puts you in a very vulnerable position politically, or, in terms of like what happens if somebody decides to, withhold. If you have a bad deal with Russia or the U.S. and they pull their resources away, what does that do to your economy? What does that do to your future if you don't have a long-term energy strategy, for your nation? Here is energy production back in 2005. Again, lignite, which is coal, 59% of the country's energy came from coal that you produced. But in recent years, they've gone away from coal. They have a lot more natural gas. But again, I would think being in a situation like that would keep the nation vulnerable. And I don't know if Greece does have a long-term strategy for developing its own sources. But I think that any nation that is dependent on others for its energy supply is a nation that's generally at risk. So again, if you have a comment on that, but that's basically all the slides I had. And again, I know that was a lot to go through, but yeah.
So first thing we got to keep in mind, the electric, what we use, whatever watt power to our equipment, to our machines, to our computers, is a different volts in Greece. So it might seem it's higher, but because everything's so much stronger in Europe. If you see different outlets, that's why they're round versus a square like we have. So maybe that's why they're different. I know Greece has been struggling for years, even when I lived there with electric. It's always been an issue. Always been an issue. And the question everybody asks, why don't we do it ourselves? We have the property, we have the land. I'm like, can we just do it here? And no politicians will say, you know what? You guys are fucking right for once. But the hours, why would we listen to civilians? Or do we know? We're the idiots. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's there's I guess the question I'm always having is, okay, where are we going to go with this? Where is, given all of the different types of energy that are available, where is going to be where's going to be the next moonshot? If America wanted to become 100% energy independent, where does that conversation need to drive? Is it going to still be with the oil and gas industry as it is currently? And again, and who's going to be impacted? I remember during the last election, they were talking about coal plants and whatnot in West Virginia and whatnot, and fracking and things of that nature and whatnot. Again, when you switch out an energy supply or industry, some workers going to get impacted. Is coal mining a thing that needs to end in the United States, and people go into other fields of business, or should we again go in on and be serious about creating a lot more nuclear power plants? And will we even get to a point? I even saw a video where they were talking about they got some folks working on some stuff where you can literally have a miniature nuclear power plant in your house.
How's that possible?
That you can take, again, a small piece of that energy, but again, make the device so small, and it'll just produce energy for like 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, before you even have to replace the core or what have you. Is that, again, something like that may not happen in our lifetime, but is that something worth exploring, worth considering, where people can, really, take, take it to the next level. Because again, go back to the 1800s or the 1900s, or whatever. Nobody was thinking about these sources. Nuclear energy or the understanding of how nuclear worked, that wasn't until the 1920s. And then everything accumulated with the creation of atomic power. We all know about the atomic bomb and all that stuff that came out the Manhattan Project, and whatnot, and it became a viable source. So again, my thing is, who knows, but is the willpower going to be there? I think a lot of these issues globally with energy is simply a matter of will versus status quo. And I would like to see a bit more ingenuity to see, can we do some things? Can we do some things differently or start thinking differently? But I think it's harder to do when you're married to capitalism. I just think that, and I'm not an advocate for communism either, or any kind of other, socialism or whatnot. I'm just saying there's a capitalist mindset that, again, that has a built-in quality to keep things as they are. Traditional capitalism has never been implemented. If you want to talk about invisible hand and Keynesian economics and innovation, driving down prices and producing and creating ingenuity and whatnot, a lot of that stuff gets stifled when you have interests that want to keep things the way they are. There's a lot of money in oil. So
when politicians get involved, that's where things get really fucked up. Let's be honest here. Mm-hmm. Because we may say, I remember a few years back when this whole thing became a real issue. They were talking about using oil, like fryer oil, to use it into cars for gasoline and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a way to do it. But it's a bitch and I have to convert your car, and it's you have to get a little more maintenance to the car. But I would prefer a little more maintenance, and the gas station is still running. They just convert the gas station to that oil instead.
Yeah.
And it says no, there's an idiot idea, but because also more jobs are coming out because now you have to go to the restaurants and drain that oil, bring it to the locations.
Right.
So again, they say, oh no, this is a stupid idea. Okay, I'm not saying Tesla's the best idea either, because guess what? If Tesla becomes a thing, I think they passed a law in California, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure what year, but they're going straight electric. You have to have electric cars a certain year. You can grandfather in, but good luck finding a gas station because they want to shut down all the gas stations down there. But then you lose people's jobs.
Yeah.
So
and obviously the oil industry is going to fight against that because, again, that affects their bottom line. California is arguably, I don't know, as far as GDP, I forget, to see the California or Texas with the largest GDP state. But yeah, that'd be a huge loss if they went in that if they went in that direction. So yeah, the idea of going all in on something, though, but I think it has to happen. But again, I'm still this idea again, innovation. Will we create something? Who's going to be bold enough to not only build a concept, an idea, but who's to bring it to scale? That's the hard part, right? Because because remember also back in the day, you talked about the using the cooking grease from restaurants and whatnot, and we used to have that too. When I used to work at McDonald's, we used to take the oil and stuff. We had these long sliding containers that trapped all the oil or whatnot. We had these big old bins that we had to put stuff in, and they would take it away and do, I don't know, some biofuel or something with it. I remember that even back in the day. But remember, they were talking about ethanol. Like they were talking about all these farmers, right? So corn, we're gonna make gas. We're gonna make gas from corn, and they were able to do that, right? But the thing is, could they do it in mass to where everything runs off of, rather than renewables? Because I've watched videos on the process. At least the current process is how they were able to take corn and make it ethanol out of it and whatnot. Again, it's doable, but is it? And again, this is the big thing. Is it profitable? Does it take more to produce the ethanol from those sources than it is to get it from somewhere else? And again, profit motive is always going to be something until they come up with a better way or an easier process that's cost effective to create these fuels. Again, they're going to go back to what they know. and that's
Well,
the oil and
the other
that's the oil and
question,
gas.
the corn, is it a long-term fix or is it a band-aid? Again, that's the other thing we have to look into.
I think the way they treat it, it's almost like it's a way to reduce, because again, there's also a mix, right? So they add, in fact, even now you'll see, I think Exxon and whatnot, they'll say even on the gas pumps, they'll say this thing is like 10% ethanol or something like that. So it's a way, I guess, to lower cost. The bulk of your gas is still coming from oil, or from oil sources. But they're saying if we can then cut the cost by adding some ethanol to it, and it still works in a carburetor type of car, or a fuel burning car, they looked at it as that matter. But I don't think no one ever said that we were going to go all in and have all these farmers create all this corn, renewable energy, because that's the whole idea of renewable. It's like with oil and whatnot, like oil is based on dead animals, right? That's how oil is produced. It's dead animals, they decompose or whatnot, and after millions or billions of years, it becomes oil. And there's certain levels of it. It has to be of a certain crude quantity or whatever before you can actually get to have it of any use to it. But corn, if you can kind of grow it, you can always replant every year and just have it available. Again, can you also create enough of it to fit the demand? So if you went to the only place I know where they use full 100% ethanol is in auto racing. Like I know the Indy 5, the Indy 500. All those cars. I think that they're all ethanol based engines. That's the only place that I know of. But in terms of mass cars, could they create enough ethanol for every car in the U.S.? That's a little harder undertaking if you want to go in that direction. But yeah, I think that again, it's not going to get any easier, especially with the tensions that are going on right now. Again, all you need is just one war to break out somewhere, and then everybody's going to be like, lines. I remember growing up in the early 70s. I remember the lines that people waiting up. They did gas rationing and that sort of thing to because
I remember reading about this stuff.
Yeah. So that oil crisis, 1973, 1974, gas rationing and gas lines and whatnot. I mean, are we in a better position than we were back then? I'm not sure, but I know, for example, when we had issues here, remember Hurricane Sandy back in 2012, how gas prices just kind of skyrocketed. In that when what was happening in Louisiana, when we had the hurricanes, what was the one in Louisiana a few years ago? I remember
that one.
Yeah, that I saw. You
made a good point about if a war breaks out, but we're at a break of wars breaking right and left. You still have Russia with Ukraine going on, right?
Then you got the Israeli Palestine or the Middle East situation that seems like a situation that can pop off any minute.
Yeah. So anything. We're not cool with Russia because we're helping Ukraine or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. And I just watched an interview today saying, that's Trump like, oh, what happened with Russia doesn't want to cease fire? Like, oh, they're going to, or they're going to be punishment. Like, what is it? Don't worry about it. You're going to find out when the time comes. That means he's going to do another, strike. If he strikes them, we're going to be in real fuck. Because guess what? Alaska, the border of Russia and Alaska is literally, if it freezes the river, it's literally do a little walking distance.
And and Alaska is a major pipeline for gas.
Hey, there you go. We're going to be screwed. So, people think the Cold War ended. I don't think it really ended. We just forgot about it.
It's still kindling. No.
Yeah. Like the only time they will say Russia actually did help us, and the record's in public right now out there, is about when 9/11 happened. Russia called us and you guys good. We're seeing you guys having a little activity going on. And that they thought the Cold War ended there, but it didn't. It's just saying like, listen, we're gonna have a hand because we're humans. End of the day, but guess what? You piss us off. Like Putin grew up during the Cold War. he doesn't want America to survive. He wants the Soviet Union back. He had mentioned that. So if he can cut the lines from any sources we have in right now, because we do buy stuff from them too.
Yeah, yeah. I want to go back to something that Loss had brought up, because this is something that always, kind of gets. Now, he talks about, again, we need to address cross-country travel using light rail. I don't think it has to be light rail. I think, we need some of those bullet trains, man. I mean, I know some guys I know two couples. Our guy King just got back from Japan not too long ago. I got a coworker of mine. He just got back from Japan also. Both of them rode those bullet trains, electric-powered bullet trains, no emissions or whatever, 300 miles an hour going back and forth or whatever. I think that'd be dope if we need to get some of that. But,
honestly,
the fastest our cars get is like the Excella line, at least on the Northeast corridor. I think they get up to like 100, 120 miles an hour or something like that. But this is interesting also because this is also a bucket list item for me. Like, my wife and I want to be able to take a train cross country and just see the country via train. I've seen people who've done it. It says like it's one of the best experiences that they ever had. They have those sleeping car type of things. They've served dinner and meals on there and whatnot. So that's kind of like on the bucket list. I just want to do that cross country experience.
I've heard of it. Honestly,
yeah.
To be honest with you, bro, if I could have taken a train from where I live to Maryland and see my boy CQ whenever I want to, I'll be going up there more often, to be honest with you.
Well, there is I know there's a Northeast Corridor rail there because I know my daughters just did that recently.
Not near
me.
Yeah,
I'm saying you would have to drive. So you would have to drive, so you could park your car at my house if you wanted to. I'll drop you off at New Brunswick, and you could take a train from right there and take a train to to Maryland, wherever. Because again, that Northeast Corridor train going south, I think it runs in that direction. I think New Brunswick is a stop.
It'll come out about the same amount travel time because it takes me 3.5 hours, an hour to get to your house, right? Probably another hour to trying to get to Maryland, right?
Yeah, I'm saying, but if you wanted to experience it, I mean, one, it's not taxing on your car, right? You don't have to worry about the drive. You can just relax as you're doing it. It's just, so I because you could just as easily fly down as well from Newark to Maryland, whatever. So you could do that as well. But I'm just saying, just the experience of being on a train, and a lot of those trains have those big open roofs and everything, so you can really see like the landscapes and whatnot. I mean, it's just just as an experience. And again, the guys
I'll do it one year. I'm not denying that one bit.
Yeah.
I'll do it for the weekend. I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
And that part. Yeah, I totally agree with you, 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if I go there like on a daily basis, if it's a train station, they've been arguing about this for years. People want a train station from here all the way into Jersey, going across.
Yeah.
But the argument is who's going to pay for it.
Well, not only that, people, and this is the thing also, when it comes to energy in general or projects like this, everybody says, not in my backyard. That's a problem. Like the case for high-speed rail at the merit, if you don't want to do a high-speed, if we did a bullet train from here to LA, from New York to LA, you can get there in 6 hours, well, like 10 hours. I think a lot of people would sign up for that if they could. But again, where are you going to put it? And who's going to say not my backyard? But I'm saying they should at least have some rails, like LA to San Francisco should be a rail. New York to let's say DC, that should be one. If you're in Texas, for example, from Houston to Dallas, if you had like a high speed rail like that, I mean, I'm saying try it in like sections, but really do it. Don't just have a faster conventional train. Do the bullet technology, put in the electric, the magnets and everything. So again, there's no emissions. I mean, the guys were saying when you're on the trains in Japan, you don't even hear it.
No.
You're moving at 300 miles an hour and you don't even feel anything.
And the thing is, the nice thing about those trains, like even people from here, like love, and this is what the people, here their biggest excuses. From here to New York City, a lot of people commute back and forth with the train, not train, the bus, or they drive in.
Mm-hmm.
But they said, they told me, like, if I had a train, I wouldn't have to worry about it. I pay the extra money. I don't care because it's a faster route, and I don't have to worry about all weather and all this bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And the excuse, all the drug addicts are gonna be coming up here. I'm like, we already have drug addicts. What the fuck are you talking about? All the drug dealers, we already have drug dealers. Oh, they're gonna bring drugs from New York. We already have the problem. That's not gonna change any problems. They're not gonna get worse or get better. We're still gonna have a fucking drug problem, no matter what. Any state you go to.
Yeah.
So it comes down to money. Who's gonna get the most profit out of it, and who's gonna put more money into it?
Right. And then the as far as the development, because I know certainly we live in close enough to New York. We're going back, next week. Pete and I were going to be at Comic-Con in New York City at the Javits next week. So again, you'll look, check out especially Sparta HQ Network, where we're going to be posting pictures, maybe even do a couple lives from there. But again, we are going to be Comic-Con 2025. Certainly looking forward to that next week. But I think New York, their train system is over 100 years old. Okay, it's been in need of rebuilding Madison Square Garden. They need to rebuild Madison Square Garden, the whole train system. But again, it's all these geopolitical interests. The guy who owns Madison Square Garden will not move.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want any progress on the building because, again, it's going to affect his bottom line. Madison Square Garden sells out like 300 shows a year. And so, again, he's only looking at it as far as his self-interest. But again, as far as modernizing that entire Northeast corridor, he's a major stumbling block to it. And so what is going to be, the solution? So again, we could talk about the stuff outside the country and different interests and what Russia's going to do or what Middle East is going to do or whatnot. Well, I'm saying, but even here, I think the thing that's always frustrated me is that we've lost the willingness to do big stuff. So if you go back to the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, the interstate highway system, big stuff. You know what I mean? We're not doing the yeah.
When you're coming in from Jersey to me on 80, because you got to take 80 before we get to whatever route I go to your house, right? Mm-hmm. So from not the first exit, about the second one, when you get to I think Monster Creek, it's Wind Gap is the first one, Monster Creek, and so on, right? Yep. So they're extending the whole highway. They're going to 3 or 4 lanes on the highway, like Jersey does.
Yeah.
So they're doing a massive project. So that was way overdue. Overdue.
Yeah.
The rush hour traffic into Jersey is horrible, bro. But I miss it. So most people do it. It's horrible.
Yeah. Shout out to our guy, What We Know Podcast. Yes, we definitely need to set that date. Certainly for the interview. If you can, if you want to drop your information in the chat, or if there's a way you can get us your information, and I will. So you talk about Veterans Day.
I'm cool with that.
Veterans Day this year. I'm down with that's what, November 11th, November 12th, I believe.
Give me a second, I'll look it up.
Yeah, but I think we can do that. I think we can do that. But yeah, definitely we need to get you on. And but thanks for stopping through. So let's find a way. In fact, I'm gonna reach out to you. Actually, because I got him on it. If you're on IG, look for my contact from IG. Drop your email. I'll see you my email address. You give me yours, and we'll look to set that up. So again, What We Know Podcast, Veterans Day, Guerrero Show. We'll definitely look to do that. So again, definitely. Appreciate you coming through and being willing to be a part of it. So definitely.
Here's my YouTube email, because I have 2 different emails, and there you go.
Okay, yeah. So JT, if you can drop your contact information to Pete's email address, that's certainly another way we can reach out as well. And yeah, let's do that for sure. We'd love to have you on.
Your email. I've been emailing your links and stuff like that. I'm not mistaken. I think I have it. Might be wrong.
Yeah. But I'm like, we're not doing the big stuff. Everybody's worried about their little neck of the woods or their projects. But again, if we're ever going to become again an independent nation, Brazil, as you saw from the slides, they're well on their way to being an independent nation using a variety of sources, hydroelectric, renewables and whatnot, gas. They have a real full palette of sources where they get energy from. I think we need to be doing the same thing, and really,
If you remember during World War II, obviously we don't remember it. We're a little bit too young for that. It's hard for you to say that sometimes. But when during the World War II, it was an issue with electric, bullets, metal, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
We may be going back to that era, and like when we, nipple and pinching dimes and everything to just survive. I think we might be going back to that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
What they say? Well, they say necessity is the mother of invention, right? And unfortunately, most innovation, certainly from the 20th century, most of it has been done by, unfortunately, war effort. Nuclear power came out of a war effort, right? Because Germany, they were already experimenting. Like I said, nuclear energy was kind of discovered in the 1920s. The German scientists, they were kind of getting it done in Germany in the 30s. Einstein wrote President Roosevelt and basically said, look, the Germans are working on some stuff with this nuclear power stuff. You better get your stuff. We didn't even have a nuclear physics department in the United States at the time. And so Roosevelt was like, all right, the Manhattan Project, all that stuff got going out of that. The space race, when Russians launched Sputnik in the air, that's when we got our stuff together when it came to getting our space program together and everything that we use, including what we're doing today. Satellite, cell phones, internet, all that stuff came up through that particular era. So it seems like it's always been war that has been the main most survival or the threat of being overtaken by something. That's the only time when we want to get our stuff together. It's not to say that but it's never for a benevolent reason. It always come out of a fear of malevolent action that is spurred us to say we need to get our stuff together. Unfortunately, no one has that vision. So definitely it's not like Star Trek, where Star Trek, they just do stuff because it's just good for humanity. You know what I mean? But I think that it may take that, some kind of scare, some kind of, again, if stuff goes AWOL and people say, okay, we need to, but even then it takes time. And like I said, I'm not even so much worried about my generation per se. I just like to see the needle going forward. So if I knew that in 50 years we'd have 20 more nuclear power plants, for example, I'd be good with that, because I wouldn't want expect, you just can't put up a nuclear plant overnight, or wind or solar, whatever the thing. Those things, take time to build. But I'm just saying, are we going in that direction, or are we just, being dependent on either locally with the local oil companies or other global entities that can have a serious impact on our future? And like I said, with Greece in particular, I think that is a major. If I was a Greek citizen, I would be asking some serious questions about why is it that we are so dependent on, because think about me, if someone's got your energy, they can tell you anything they want, right? You got no say in your future. If you want a political, you want someone in office, you want a political outcome or whatever. I mean, who's going to stop you when you're that dependent on somebody? So again, it almost becomes a national security issue. And I certainly am not saying that like I'm an isolationist or whatever, but I just think that there's certain areas in a nation, I'm all for free trade and all those kind of things, but I just think that there's certain aspects that you should be able to control. And certainly with energy, with the demand for it going up, I mean, all these devices that we're on, and like I said, in New Jersey, like I said, my energy bill has just gone, and I went again. I got the panels, and I got the best thing I did actually was got that Google thermometer thing.
The Nest thermometer.
The Nest, yeah, that thing saved me on average, and I got the numbers to back it up. That thing saved me on average 20% on my 15-20% on my bill every month since I've owned it. So so certainly that thing has really given me a lot more control over things. It's interesting because my daughters and my wife, like, they don't really like to mess with it too much, so they'll just tell me, it's like Dad, it's too cold, it's too hot. Can you turn the air on? Can you turn the air off? But I can be anywhere in the world. When I was in Grenada, I could control literally the thermostat system as long as I can get to a Wi-Fi. I'm controlling the thermometer from there. So and again, even when you even when you are coming home. Let's say if it's cold on the way home, I could turn the heat on 30 minutes before I get home. So I walk in. I walk into a I walk in to a warm house when I get in. So so those are things that you really have to be mindful of, and so. But even then, it's like it's still something I'm always looking to see how can I cut costs. How can I the fact that all my daughters are working now, like they're fully employed. So my bill last month, I think, was only like $55. I think that's my
That was a lot better what I paid.
because it's weird because it's like in the summer and everything. But again, they're out of the house all day, so it's like everything is cut off. The only thing we got to be mindful of with the summer and with the winter coming up is make sure my dog, because even though he has fur, I don't want him in a house that's under 30 degrees. You know what I mean? So I gotta,
in the summer you need some air for him too, so he can't
exactly. Yeah, so it's the first time it's like, everyone's out the house and he's like home for the whole day. But prior to that, it was like somebody was here. But there are days like there's going to be at least a couple days during the week where he's home totally by himself, and he handles that pretty well. But you just got to be mindful of that when you're when I'm setting temperatures and whatnot. I try not to have it below 65 or something like that. Just to make sure it's somewhat reasonable. And then again, on the way home, I can crank it up, and I'll come in and it's nice and toasty when I get in. So that's a big.
I wish my little let me put that in, to be honest with you, because I'm tired.
Oh, they won't let you do it. Oh yeah.
No, like the old school one. It's still a digital, but it's the old school digital one.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way: my digital lock. It took me 3.5 years to argue with her to get it.
Wow.
She didn't want to let me do it because I have nurses coming in and out. I'm not going to give everyone a fucking key. So you're going to give me a lockbox. It still kills the purpose there. I get a lockbox on there. Because the lockbox, anybody has a fucking code. I don't want that.
Yeah.
That's the point of it. I want everybody to have their own code so I can disable the code whenever I like it. And that's the nice thing about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you say you were coming over, I'm like, oh, dude, just hit in the house. Here, I'll give you a temporary code. That's your code. You punch it in, you go in, come out whenever you need to.
Right.
The worst thing, my dog is going to bark. My mom's going to probably give you a big fucking kiss. That's the worst thing you have to worry about. So, again, it's just like I'm such a big fan of the smart homes because they save a lot of electricity, a lot of heat, a lot of everything. I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah, now for sure. Best thing. And the thing is, I got mine for free because my local PSC&G, they were just giving you a credit. Here, you want one, just put in. I got mine for free. And all it does is, I just got to replace the battery like every, year or two or whatever. And it, like I said, it works.
It's funny you said that because I was talking to my foreman up here who fixed all this stuff. And he even said it. The electric ones, the digital ones, the smart ones are better than these we're getting. And they're cheaper too.
Yeah.
Because you're staging these every so often. Those can last a lot longer than the old school ones.
Yeah, for sure.
But they don't want to drop the money, of course. That's the problem.
It always boils down to the money.
Oh yeah.
At
money at the end of the day. That's the funny part.
Yeah. So, question for you: do you ever think you will ever own an electric or hybrid car?
One that, I know I will. Not if is one.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think my next one, again, the only argument that my wife and I are having, again, do we want to go all in or do we want to do the hybrid? I think she would be more comfortable just with the hybrid. But again, as far as like a commuting car, as Lost was saying earlier, something to get to and from work with, you go to the store with or whatnot. You may only have to charge the car like once a week or once every couple of weeks, because I know she works very close to the house here. She works down at the university. So again, it's not like, it would be a big burden there. And, and I wouldn't, I certainly would see that now that the throw off would be, again, based on these energy costs. Because, again, you got to factor that in. Also, if we got one, our energy bill is going to go up because you got to get the charger sort of put onto your house or whatnot. And so we'd have to add that up, too.
The funny thing about that, the house, if you put the charger, because I a few people were debating that, and they found out if you put the car charger in your house, the value of your house goes up.
The value goes up.
Don't ask me.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it definitely, because those charges are about $2,000, I think. If you get not, I mean, you can literally charge your car from a plug in your house, but it's going to take like all night to charge it. But if you want like the actual charger,
you can plug it in a wall and bring it out and to charge it because there's different plugs, obviously, like that. Portable one, they call it a portable car charger.
Yeah,
so you can buy one of those, or I would just recommend you just mount it in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not that hard. It's same outlet that you use for a washer, actually, and dryer.
Yeah.
And just where you're gonna put it, and that's it. And you're gonna have to put it outside because you don't park your car in the garage, obviously. So that's the only issue. Get a long enough line for it.
Yeah, for sure. Or I may have a line that you could put like a thing that it comes out of the house, just so that the thing's inside the house, but you can actually drill and create a slot so that the hose can come out. So because like I said, I never do put my car inside the garage. But I still have it out and still charge that way as well. So yeah, I think
I'm bro. I always use mine. I love my garage. I always had it in the garage.
Yeah. I don't think when the house was built. I mean, yes, I can get the cars in there, but it's like I think they're like 8.5 feet wide. I think I needed like 9 footers to be safe with it. And so again, they're a little narrow because I used to put them in like when we used to get those big heavy snowstorms. I would put both cars in, but it was a hassle still because you could barely get out. So the cars are in there. I can barely scoot past the cars to get out of my own driveway. So then I just decided, if a snowstorm is coming, I'm just going to park my cars on the far side where the fence is and just have a clear lane so I can snow plow and whatnot and get all the snow out and then pull them out that way. It got to a point where it was just too messy, especially when we had the minivan. It was just too messy trying to get it in and out of there because again, it was just not wide enough. So
the minivan is a whole different story. You're talking about a whole different,
Yeah, if I had like a
I did girl that she had a car, she had a house, and the one side it was like small enough, and I had an SUV. I had that Santa Fe back then, the 05, the old body, the very when it first came out. If you remember those?
Yeah.
I got it. I was able to get it literally by a hair inch.
Yeah.
And I would be able to get out literally comfortably by a hair inch.
Yeah.
They were, the way they built the garage was like it was weird because they put a pole right in the middle of it, and that's where you got lost all the space. What the fuck is this goddamn thing? You don't have a
lot of room to maneuver for sure, or you can't have anything in your garage. So I got like shelving, I got supplies on one side and all kinds of stuff. I mean, that's a major project I need to certainly clear out, especially now. We got a lot of stuff to when my kids were still young or whatever. So there's definitely I need to just get a dumpster and probably just get rid of a bunch of stuff that I don't necessarily use anymore. But just going back to the fuel discussion. So I know I talked a lot. It seems like I'm an advocate for nuclear. I'm not saying if I am or not. I just know the numbers. Again, especially in places like France. Again, we know about the history of nuclear. We know about the bombs. We know about all different things. I think I'm kind of sold on it. I would like to see more produced in this country, especially after I found out that, again, in New Jersey, nearly half of my power is coming from nuclear plants. And so I don't have necessarily in any reason. I've been here 50 plus years, and I've never had a problem with it. So I think I'm making a forecase for nuclear. Where do you stand on nuclear energy, or is there a particular source of energy, whether it be wind, solar, renewables? Is there anything that you favor? Like, what would you, if you were going to have your chips, right? Where are you going to put your chips in and say, look, you know what, I'm going all in on this?
If let's say I had to invest in one of them, I'll go nuclear because it's the most safest and cleanest. Because we have some accidents.
Statistically speaking, it's the safest form of energy.
Okay, soup. Kind of over there.
It's true. I mean, the numbers. Again, the numbers don't lie. I mean, it
happens sometimes. Look how many planes have crashed.
Mm-hmm.
How many cars have gotten in accidents.
Mm-hmm.
You still drive your car, don't you?
Absolutely.
You still fly, right?
Yeah.
You still get in a train, right?
Right.
And so, if there's been trains, like things happen in life sometimes.
Yeah. Like I said, I just think it's just the full, because like I said, I remember, like I said, in the 70s, since that's the era I grew up in, everybody was scared to death about anytime nuclear was mentioned in any capacity. You were at the height of the Cold War. You had 3 Mile Island, and people were like, you had major protests, like in American cities and in D.C., anti-nuclear protests that were going on around the country at the time, talking about no nukes, in the nukes now and whatnot. Because also at that time, U.S. and Soviet Union, they had like stockpiles of nuclear. U.S. had like 10,000 and Russia had 8,000. I mean, it got to a point where it was like, wait a minute, it only takes a few of these to obliterate the entire planet. So what are we going to do with 10,000 nuclear weapons anyway? So it just got to a point where it was just, again, it was just like a show of force or strength or whatever, but nobody was going to be committed to using it. And then you had the movies, right? You had the Terminator, right? You had war games. You had all these people who were basically the idea of nuclear war or proliferation. And we were going to get you had these post-apocalyptic movies. Mad Max, for example, was same thing. I mean, all these movies that came out in the 80s, Red Dawn, another one, where again, I think it was just baked into people, this fear of nuclear energy, that it's just anytime you have the conversation that comes up, even if you may talk about it in general, it's like, yeah, this is a good idea. Okay, so where are you going to build it? Oh, about 10 miles off of my house. No, I don't want any. So again, unless that changes in the minds of people, I don't think that you're going to have the fervor from the public, and then couple that with the oil companies and their lobby. You're definitely not going to get the conversation moving any swifter on that end, because again, they got too much to lose. Now again, you got billions of dollars. Why don't you go in and start investing in
to the politicians' pockets? They're not going to say, "Yeah, fuck you, no, we're not doing it." Simple as that. You know that.
Yeah. And again, that just slows down. That just slows down the progress overall for everyone. But then again, don't complain then when your energy bills are through the roof, or something goes down and you're spending $4 and $5 a gallon on gas. And then you're asking the question, why the price so high? I mean, again, if we are America, then again, I think we need to have these moonshots, and amongst those needs to be really going in and developing positive. I mean, even the future fusion power. Right? We talk about nuclear power. What about the fusion? Because that's been talked about for 20, 30 years. And I think a few years ago they just started their first fusion reactor. It's not live yet. It's not producing anything, but it was just a concept. Can we even do a fusion reactor? And I think one came online a couple of years ago, but it's not like it's serving populations and things of that nature. I mean, it's a lot more difficult to produce, but from what I understand, it gives you better output than does a fission nuclear reactor. But again, will it ever get to mass? Everything is sort of in the lab stage still, and we're not where we need to be on that end. But yeah, but I'm a futurist to an extent. I want to see the latest technology. I want to see fusion. I want to see all these technologies kind of come to bear, because I think our humanity's future, I think, is going to be vested, I think, in those things. I just don't think we can kind of continue on the path that we're on, and again, just being beholden to other people. So that's my.
I think it's too soon to say if it's something going mass public. It's its own animal. It's still just for what prototype stage right now, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of in the lab. They prove they can do it, but everything has gotten there, right? I mean, fission. The first fission reaction back in the 20s. In fact, they did it here in the United States. I think it was 1928 at the. I want to say it's at the. I think it was at Ohio State, or I forget the university that it was at, but that first sustained nuclear fission reaction was done under the bleachers of a university football stadium. I think in 1928 they kind of proved that they can have a sustained nuclear reaction. So yeah, so everything starts in the lab. But again, it was because of the war effort that the Manhattan Project, and I don't even know how much the Manhattan Project would be. In fact, let me see if I can look that up real quick. The Manhattan Project in today's dollars. If you were to Manhattan Project cost in today's money. Yeah, about $50 billion in today's money for the
cheap.
It's not. Yeah, it's not going to break the bank. I mean, we what's our GDP, like 20 trillion at this point or something like that.
Keep going up every year.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a drop in a bucket, relatively speaking. But again, is the political will to do so. So, but yeah, I mean, I think we've chopped this up a bit. We're at the hour and a half. We're at the hour and a half mark. But again, I just wanted to have this. This is one of those things that because again, I lean on you oftentimes for show content, and this is just something that's just been on my mind that I never got a chance to talk about in a public space. But I do think that transportation, different ways of transportation. I'm right with Loss when he talks about again rail. But again, I like to see electric rail. I want to see high speed rail. I mean, real high speed, not 120 mile an hour Acela like we got here already, which is also about 40, 50 years old right at this point. But especially when you go to these highly developed countries and see what they got going on. I would like to see a lot more motion on that. Shout out to our guy Ekade. Haven't seen you in a while. Appreciate you being here and stopping on through. Hope everything is going on well with you. Would certainly love to have you up for a combo. It's certainly in the future. But again, appreciate you guys are speaking. You're speaking my luggage now or my language? I want to say language, but yes, definitely. I think we need to be going in a different direction. But I think it's going to take certainly not only the will of the people. It's going to take politicians with the will to greenlight a lot of these projects, and I think you got to serve notice to the power brokers, i.e., these current energy companies, to say, look, this is going to be a fair competition. If you're pro-capitalism, then you have to allow for innovation. Now, if you guys want to drive the innovation, then by all means, you guys have the infrastructure, you have the scientists, you got all these things that you could be doing to bring these things into fruition. But I think we need to start going bolder. Nuclear, fission, fusion, electric rail, high speed rail. I think those would do a lot in terms of really amping up and connecting the country. But
we need to hit that direction. But again, it comes down to politicians. Who's paying them off?
Absolutely.
Fuckers off.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest here.
Absolutely.
You want to have that conversation? I'll say they get paid off very easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Ekane, we typically have a call. We don't typically do callers. We have once a month. In fact, we're due for one soon. When's the next time we're due for a call-in show?
Like in 2 weeks, I think, is it?
In 2 weeks. So Ekane, if you can come back in 2 weeks, and we can certainly chop this up again and talk about this idea of tech and innovation, especially in the energy space in terms of where we need to go. We would love to have you up to talk about that. But typically, we'd like to keep the show about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, or so, hour and a half, hour 45. Certainly, you're more than welcome back. We'll drop the link and let you know when we're going to have a show, our call-in show. Please call back, and I'd love to get pick your brain and your 2 cents on this topic as well. But yeah, I think it's a discussion that we need to have, and I appreciate you certainly being open to that. But again, wishing you well in all your endeavors, until we have that combo. But we can certainly start to wind the show down and land this plane, getting into our final thoughts again on this topic. But I think that this is something that is, again, if humanity is going to go forward in a big way, if we want to do things like eradicating poverty and again, the need for energy is going to grow. And where it's really growing now, you see a lot of nations, especially in Africa right now. In fact, I forget the nation Africa. They had this one country that's very controversial at this point. They just came out with their electric car They're starting to get into it. So again, Africa is going to be also be a seat where a lot of conversations going to be had as far as energy production, and they're going, once their energy demands start growing to such that, hey, we're going to be a major player in this space, then everybody's going to have to be at the table talking about, okay, what's going to be the best way to do it. Coal, I don't think is going to be a major option in the future. I think countries like China, they're trying to get away from it.
Get out.
Yeah, they're trying to get away from it, and so we got to be like, all right, where's the energy going to be coming from? And Africa, for so many years, has been exploited for its energy resources. If they start to get really powerful, then that's going to be a conversation in of itself, because they're going to be like, hold up, you can't just be coming in and getting our cobalt and all our resources and whatnot. They're going to want to see at the table, and then we're really going to have a conversation about energy and where we get our stuff from.
Reminds me of a little bit of a anime. It was on this one. Gundam 00. Their plot was pretty much there were only 4 major powers.
Mm-hmm.
They named them like Federation, whatever, different names.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you weren't part of one of those unions, you were not getting electricity.
Yeah. And
those countries that were in, they were struggling. They were always at war fighting somebody just to get electricity. I think we might head to that direction. We have to be part of some type of group of a country, like a union, almost with you and you, and then that group and that group and that group to even survive. We might be headed that way too.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's the demand, the population, and whatnot. I mean, in a few years, we're going to be 10 billion. I mean, so that's it's got to come from somewhere. Ekene, my company is actually working on some projects in massive infrastructure and development, or not. So I know Ekene. I would love to pick your brain and also what's going on in Africa, current developments. As far as that, we all know it's going to be that next frontier, and everybody's trying to get on it. Europe is already there. China is already up in there. Where's U.S.? I have no idea. I think that was a major blunder going all the way back to the Bush administration that did a lot of work in Africa, especially for HIV and other things. We should have had a stronger relationship with the continent, but things went awry or whatever. So that's a whole nother geopolitical discussion. But if it's gonna, they're gonna be a part of the conversation. They're demanding. They're not just asking. They're demanding to be part of the conversation. And so Africa certainly could be the next place where you're going to see more, not just in the Middle East, but throughout the continent. Especially if all those African nations get their stuff together and be like, we want to be a united continent. Then everybody be on blast in terms of, okay, hold up, because again, you're not going to get your electric, because again, all your electric batteries, all that's coming from Africa. And so we better be very smart about how we go about things if we want to grow in these areas of electric and whatnot in the future. We need to start thinking about that. Unless we figure out how to put a little nuclear reactor in every car, that might be the next frontier.
We're going to talk about time travel too next.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Back to the Future, Tom. Why not? But any last words before we start to wind down the show?
No, I think we had a good conversation. I think that we need to head to a direction that we will be comfortable, not as a country, but as a planet.
Yeah, for sure. But all right. So again, we want to thank you guys for being part of this conversation. Again, make sure you hit the like button as you leave the show, not only here, but hop on over to Sparta HQ Network. We have fun over there as well. We have a lot of interesting conversations. Got shows on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We got Saturday with the Hangout. So again, we kind of touch base across the board over there. So consider being part of that conversation, that community as well. Certainly, we'd love to have you there. But certainly for us, as always, we really appreciate this platform. Thank you, BMU, for the platform that you've given us and the support that you always give us, so that we can bring these shows on to the public. And we just look forward to having engaging conversation, respectful conversation in these spaces from two people who come from very different perspectives. We find the gray area not only in the conversation, but also in each other. And that, we can always foster healthy dialogue in these spaces. So certainly for myself, Mr. Bennett, he is
This is Sparta!
The Ghost of Sparta. This is the gray area on this first Sunday in October. Enjoy the rest of your week. You guys take care. God bless. And we will see you next time. Good night. I'm trying to find the outro.
Yeah, come on.
It's always mixed. I gotta talk to BMU here because it's always it's always in the wrong place. And there we go. All right, I got it. Have a good night, everybody.